The Seattle Mariners have done a great job of building a farm system that can help the major league team win for years to come. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On MLB Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to Locked On MLB Prospects, your home for all things minor league baseball. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, freelance baseball writer and podcaster. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. Special thank you to the everydayers who are with us on this journey every single day. Love to hear you guys. Love to see you guys here. If you are new to the show, you can subscribe to us anywhere you get your podcasts, Google, Apple, Spotify, whatever it may be. Special hello to our friends on YouTube. Do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we drop new episodes. Want to talk about the Seattle Mariners, some of the top prospects in the system, as well as some of the recent additions to the system, and how they all line up really well with what Seattle has at the major league level. And these are all from our prospect rankings, which are exclusively available to subscribers of our subtext. Links in the episode description, links in the show notes. The number one prospect in the system, I have catcher Harry Ford, 2021 first rounder out of high school, has played in 105 games in high A this year. 255, 413, 431. 14 home runs, 37 extra base hits for Harry Ford, 93 walks to 93 strikeouts, and 23 of 31 on stolen bases. Harry Ford is a really unique player in a good way. Very athletic, and he's a little bit shorter and a little bit stockier than a lot of guys you'd expect, 5'10", 200. One of the scouting reports that I read about him compared his frame to that of a wrestler, and I think that's a pretty good comparison, but he's an insane athlete. He is his speed is plus, and not plus speed for a catcher. His speed is plus, period. End of story. Plus speed. If you wanted to, he's a good enough athlete, similar to what Pittsburgh did with Henry Davis. I feel like you could move him to a corner outfield spot. You could move him to third base. There's a lot of options to get Harry Ford into the game, more so than just catching. But he is a full-time catcher. And defensively, because that's the only position where we really have to talk about defense first for a catcher, you can tell the athleticism is an asset to his game. He still has work to do, just like every prep catcher does, but moving laterally, things like that, he is very good at that. And then the arm, we had it graded as a plus arm, and I'm beginning to wonder if maybe we undershot the arm a bit by calling it just a plus arm. The number of times I have watched somebody try to steal on Harry Ford and just get absolutely gunned down at second base is far too high. So maybe stop testing Harry Ford defensively at second base, because he can get the ball down there in a hurry and accurate. He usually throws it on a hop. It's a one-hop throw, but if you watch him, the fielder's glove is in the same spot every single time. Harry Ford is just incredibly accurate and fast with coming up, the transfer, the throw. Defensively, very good for Harry Ford. And again, that arm strength would be an asset at third base, could be an asset in right field to go along with his speed if you wanted to use him out there. But offensively, the big thing for Harry Ford is it's a very simple and quick swing. He's a right-handed hitter and naturally is able to hit from not quite foul pole to foul pole. It feels like his preferred things to do are either drive it out to right center field or pull it for a home run. Now, the hand-eye coordination, the approach, the pitch recognition, all of that is very good. And so, you can see in the slash line, 413 on base percentage in high A this year. I don't necessarily know what the power ceiling for Harry Ford is going to be. It feels like he might be a 20 home run guy, but he's going to be a positive contributor to your organization simply because he is so good with the bat in his hands. His hit tool is probably above average, if not better. I understand 255 isn't mind-blowing, but again, for a catcher, you understand he's doing a lot, he's learning a lot, he's having a lot thrown at him, and he's handling it all very well. Cannot be more impressed with Harry Ford. Have him as a number 1 prospect in the system for a reason. Number 2 prospect, I've got shortstop Cole Young. Last year's first rounder, 2022 first rounder out of high school. And he spent time this year in both single A and high A. So 272, 400, 455. 10 home runs, 49 extra base hits for Cole Young in 109 games, 79 walks, 276 strikeouts, and 21 of 30 on stolen bases. Left-handed hitter, has a really short and quick swing. And what I've been impressed with is he does a very good job of maximizing the quality of the contact that he makes. I don't think Cole Young is ever going to have massive power. Now, we've seen stuff before. We've batting practices, and we've seen some home runs go far. But in an everyday course, he's not necessarily a power hitter. But he is at least a 60 grade bat, if not better. When he is ready to go and at the major league level, he feels like the type of guy that's going to be able to flirt with a 300 batting average. Something where he is, again, very good with pitch recognition, very good at understanding not only ball versus strike, but that second level of pitch recognition we often talk about where it's a strike versus a drivable pitch. So, very impressed with what Cole Young can do. He does not miss in the zone. If you throw him a strike, he is able to hit that strike if he chooses to swing. A lot of it right now, his production, yes, he had 10 home runs, but by the 49 extra base hits, a lot of it is gap power, hitting line drives, things like that. I think he could eventually one day end up as a 15 home run guy, but you're not necessarily looking for him to do that. He's a guy above average speed. He's not incredibly fast, but speed is good enough. You can see the stolen base numbers, 21 of 30. He is really good at going first to third on a base hit, things like that. But it feels like Cole Young is going to... He has good enough speed and a good enough arm. It's not a cannon, but it's above average. So good enough speed and arm where he could move second or third. Some of this depends on physical development. He is 19 years old, listed at 6'1", 180. We'll see what he does if he loses some range. But either way, I think he could kick out to third with the arm strength, or he could move into second. Although if he kicks out to third, he doesn't necessarily have the power profile you're looking for from a third baseman. But he's still going to be definitely a positive addition from an offensive standpoint to your infield, whichever direction he goes. Number 3 prospect in the system, I've actually got Gabriel Gonzalez, and this was different earlier in the year. I had Jonathan Clase up there earlier in the year, but we've seen Clase have strikeout issues this year. And so Gabriel Gonzalez is the guy that I've moved up into this number 3 spot in the system. And when you look at his season so far, he's been in both single A Modesto and high A Everett, 99 total games. He's batting .304, .365, .493, 16 home runs, 41 extra base hits, 29 walks to 72 strikeouts, and 9 for 9 on stolen bases. Massive arm on Gabriel Gonzalez, 70 grade arm. He's most decidedly going to be a corner guy. His speed's already below average. The defense isn't amazing. Depending on what happens, he could be a threat to end up being a DH, which would be a waste of that massive arm. But incredibly fast hands, right-handed hitter, can destroy baseballs. And it's weird. He doesn't have the usual swing and miss that you see from a power hitter, but he's got some chase issues. A lot of it comes down to that pitch recognition that he has to work on. I've talked about before, that first level and second level. He's still working on that first level. Like what Gabriel Gonzalez can do, we have him at number 3, but I'll acknowledge there's a little bit of flaws in there, and we're working to see what can get done. In just a minute, they've added a lot of talent into this system in recent months between the draft and the trade deadline. We'll cover some of those guys next, right here on Locked On MLB Prospects. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit, and it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay's guaranteed fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check mark to know your part will fit or your money back, because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit, and the right price on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions do apply. Talk about the Seattle Mariners. If you want all of this stuff in written form, if you want access to all of our rankings, again, it's exclusively to folks in our subtext, links in the episode description, links in the show notes. So looking at this at some of these new additions to the system, I've got a couple of these draft picks right here in the filling out the back, the front. I've got a couple of these recent draft picks right here in number 5, number 6, number 10, right here in the back half of the top 10. So Tai Peete and Colt Emerson, have them side by side. One's at 5, one's at 6. And both of them very small samples of what they've been able to do so far in the Complex League. As of time of recording, Tai Peete's played like 9 games. He's 13-34 with 2 extra base hits, 3 walks and 9 strikeouts, 3 for 4 on stolen bases. Colt Emerson's played in 7 games. He's 13-25, 1 home run, a total of 4 extra base hits, 4 walks to 6 strikeouts, 4 for 4 on stolen bases. I ended up putting Peete above Emerson for the defense, right? Colt Emerson he's listed as a shortstop. I do think he's going to end up being a second baseman. The speed is necessarily only average or so. The arm isn't as good as you would like. And so there's a potential he can kick out to third base. I've seen some people list him as a third baseman, but a lot of the common thought, and when he was committed to college, they talked about he'd probably be their starting second baseman his freshman year. And so something where I'm not 100% sure he's going to stick at shortstop, whereas Tai Peete, plus arm, good range, feels like the best bet to stick at shortstop. Now, the difference in these two guys is you have a lot more confidence about Colt Emerson's offense. Really fast hands on Colt Emerson. And so can get the bat into the zone incredibly quickly. He can hit the ball to all fields. A lot of his power production in high school was pull side stuff, but he can go get the ball anywhere in the strike zone, and he can put it in a spread from either gap. So he can take something down and away, and he can punch it to the opposite field. I mean, he can go get it anywhere in the zone and put it not quite anywhere on the field, but he can get it out in a pretty wide range. You're not going to be, not that shifting's allowed, but you're not going to be heavily shifting on him or anything like that. Tai Peete, by comparison, there's a little bit of more questions here about his offense, right? He rose really quickly towards the draft up into the first round. I think the big thing here for Tai Peete is he was a two-way player in high school. He ran it up to 96 on the mound, and so they are using him just as a shortstop. How does his offense get better when he's able to focus just on hitting and defense? The power's pretty decent, really good to the pull side. He can pull a ball out for a home run. Question is, where does his hit tool end up when he's able to finally focus in on hitting and he doesn't have to also worry about bullpens and side sessions and things like that? The third first-round pick that they got, Jonny Farmelo, I've got him at number 10. And there's just a little bit more questions here with Jonny Farmelo. He's been assigned to the Complex League, from what I understand, but he's not played any games yet. We don't have any stats on him. And again, it would be very small sample sizes anyways, but he looks like a corner outfielder already. Pretty big, stocky frame, has really good exit velocities, really loud swings. And we've seen him at showcases and things like that. He's dealt with velocity really well. He's dealt with spin really well. The arm's at least above average, but questions about what's going to happen from here physically, because it feels like he's maxed out already. And whenever you see those guys that have really good power, you usually think about the swing and miss here. We need to see him in minor league baseball against professional hitters to know exactly what's going to happen with the ultimate ceiling for the hit tool. So I've got him at 10 right now with the complete understanding that he may rise. He's probably the best bet to rise from the back half of the top 10 to the front half of the top 10 if he has a really good start to his professional baseball career. The other guy that was added into this system, most notably as a prospect, is second baseman Ryan Bliss. At the trade deadline, they go out and they get Ryan Bliss, as well as Dominic Canzone from Arizona. And the thing for Ryan Bliss is draft pick as I think it was a second round pick, as a shortstop, was listed at 5'9", 170 or so, and struggled a little bit when he first got into pro ball. And I noticed an interesting observation. Once MLB standardized the heights and weights of everybody, because they had to go do that in spring training so they could, if you were in a park that was going to have ABS, they had to be able to do ABS. So once all of that happened, he went from being listed at 5'9" to being listed at 5'6". So he is a short king. But once they did that, he absolutely took off production-wise. And I think some of it, too, was also a change in approach. It wasn't just the fact that he was trying to keep up this facade of being 5'9", but it was not always trying to sell out for power and trying to just take what the pitcher gives him, make quality contact. And so this year, 98 games between AA and AAA in both Arizona and now Seattle's organization, 314, 376, 526, 15 home runs, 52 extra base hits in 98 games, including 7 triples, 35 walks to 90 strikeouts, and 41 of 53 on stolen bases. Now that he's backed off the power thing, he's hitting to all fields instead of trying to pull stuff all the time. He is now solidly at second base versus still trying to make shortstop work. That range is really good. The hands, the actions, the transfer, that's all good. It's just a cap on the arm strength. And so that's why he's at second base. But was a good get by, was both a good sell by the Diamondbacks if they didn't necessarily think he'd be able to maintain that in AAA, and a good buy by the Mariners to get him, knowing that they were going to need a second base option going forward. That is actually what we'll talk about next, right here on Locked On MLB Prospects. Okay, so the Seattle Mariners have done a very good job of talent acquisition and drafting to meet the future needs of the major league team. And this exercise, when I do these team prospect rankings, and I like to take the third segment and look at who is currently playing and what's the contractual control and where do these guys all fit into the system. And when you look at this team, Julio Rodriguez could be around for a decade. We literally don't know with that contract extension what's going to happen because there's so many different options and clauses and things like that. Jared Kelenic, who is hurt right now, but he is under team control through 2028 in left field. Teoscar Hernandez is an unrestricted free agent after this season in right. Now you have a couple different options. They called up Cade Marlowe recently. They had Dominic Canzone, who just, I think, clicked over out of prospect eligibility. They are both under team control through 2029. Theoretically, between those 4 guys, you have your outfield set for 6 years. You have plenty of time where that outfield is set and decided. At first base, Ty France is there through 2026. At shortstop, J.P. Crawford is there through 2026. Eugenio Suarez at third base is signed through 2024. He struggled some this year, struggled some last year too, but has really struggled this year. And I think that's an area where you're targeting. If you're not necessarily going to upgrade next season, you will need somebody when Suarez's deal is done. So that's an area to target for an upgrade as third base. Second base, combine a couple different options. You got Josh Rojas from the Diamondbacks in that same trade where you got Ryan Bliss. He is a Super 2 guy next year. You have him under team control through 2027. He's played second, he's played third, he's played short. He's a really good utility option. You've also got Dylan Moore at second base. He's under team control through 2025. And then at catcher, you've got Cal Raleigh through 2027. So what it feels like here is Harry Ford can slot in as a catcher where you can have two starting caliber catchers, which also gives you DH options. Look at what Atlanta has done with Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud. The value of having two really good catchers is something that it's hard to overstate how valuable that is, right? You don't have to play either guy too much. If something happens to one of them, and again, in Atlanta's case, they've lost both of those catchers at different times in the season, and the other guy stepped up, played every day for 2 weeks or for a week or a month or whatever until the second guy got back. And when the middle of the summer hit, the dog days of summer, they started rotating them through a little bit more frequently to keep them both fresh. And they're both having, I think, just about career years. So you're looking at second base and third base to upgrade. And so that's where all of the youth in this system makes a lot of sense, because going into next year, you've got Josh Rojas, you've got Dylan Moore, Ryan Bliss is going to be an option for you as well at second base. And so you've got three guys who would have plenty of team control right there who can compete for second base. Rojas can also play third, as well as Eugenio Suarez. We talked about some of these guys, some of these younger players, your Colt Emersons, your Tai Peetes, guys like that, who look like they could play third base as well as short. Although in Emerson's case, he's probably not playing short. But you've got options to cover second base, whether it's somebody like a Cole Young, whether it's somebody like a Colt Emerson. You've got options to cover third going forward, whether it's a Cole Young, whether it's a Tai Peete. And then you have J.P. Crawford through 2026. Tai Peete should be ready if you want to, or you are going to move on from J.P. Crawford, who will be in his 30s by then. I'm not quite sure exactly how old he is right now, but he'll be in his 30s by then. You'll have Tai Peete as an option for shortstop. Yes, there's a lot of second base and shortstop guys here, but you're going to need second base and third base options sooner than you'll need first or short. And then there's a lot of outfielders in this system that we're looking at to figure out, okay, who is going to be able to come in and be better than a Cade Marlowe or Dominic Canzone? Gabriel Gonzalez, again, good fit for a corner. I think Clase is going to be your best defensive option in center field outside of Julio Rodriguez, but right now it's hard to give him a ceiling of more than a fourth outfielder until he can manage to hit a little bit better. His slash line between high A and double A in 106 games this year is 249, 357, 472. Now he's 61 of 76 on stolen bases. He absolutely has a role on a team, but the question is he going to hit enough to make you a contender for the division? That's the question I don't entirely know, because that is a tough division. You've got the Rangers, you've got the Astros, and this Mariners team is in it right now. They are still in. They are just a couple games back of the division lead right now. That is a three-way race for the division. This team is set up really well for now and for the future. And then even the pitching staff, I haven't mentioned a single pitcher today, because the highest pitcher we have in the system outside of Emerson Hancock, because he has debuted, but he's on the injured list, and so he's going to get enough service time to graduate from this list. The next pitcher I have on my prospect rankings is number 14, right-hand pitcher Prolander Berroa, who has a little bit of reliever risk. He actually came up and worked as a reliever a bit this year. But looking at the list of guys, you've got Robbie Ray, signed through 2026. He has an opt-out for after 2024, but he's also out with Tommy John surgery, so he may not get back on the mound until late in 2024. So there's a very good chance he's not going to exercise that opt-out, because he probably won't be able to get a bigger contract than what he has from the Mariners. You've got Luis Castillo, signed through 2028. You've got the availability of Marco Gonzalez. I want to say he signed through 25, or he signed through 24 with an option, somebody's option, player, team, mutual, something for 2025. But then after that, you've got so many really young, really good pitchers in Logan Gilbert, and George Kirby, and Bryce Miller, and Brian Wu, again, and Emerson Hancock. So many options that between those 8 guys, you can find a starting 5 and the depth that you will need outside of that 5 to make it through a full season. And you've got guys that can legitimately scare somebody in a 3 or 5 or 7 game playoff series. The Mariners have done a very good job of building a farm system that can help the major league team win. Very impressed with that. Again, if you want access to these rankings, as well as priority in the mailbags, things like that, the way to do it, click on the link for our subtext. Links in the episode description, links in the show notes. Those folks get first shot at if we're proposing different ideas for shows, or if they have an idea for a show, mailbag questions, access to our rankings, and all of that. It's going to be a great week this week. We're going to do the Atlanta Braves prospects, as well as the Chicago Cubs. Those were all, again, voted on by our subtexters. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, remember, it's always a great time to pay a minor leaguer.